Well, hello. I'm in a little park in a little village. It would be fun to go to a more busy place so you could see people walking around in the background and so on, but it's more trouble than it's worth at the moment, so I'm just enjoying the countryside and these sleepy little villages and their parks. They have a beautiful fountain and a well here in this park, and I was thinking about what it might have been like, trying to imagine what it might have been like, many years ago when people didn't have running water in their houses and they had to go down to all these fonts, these fountains in the village. There are lots of artesian wells, lots of fountains in the villages, which is nice. And they would get their water and take it home for cooking or washing or bathing or drinking. Yeah, just imagine having to do that every day. And it wasn't that long ago that people had to do that in these villages. I'm not sure exactly when, but it wasn't that long ago. Right? It wasn't hundreds of years ago. And beautiful. So what was I thinking about? What was I thinking through? I saw this Vice video. That was pretty interesting. There's this Christian intentional community in the Ozarks in the United States, the Ozark Mountains. And they have their own kind of Christian beliefs based on the Jewish Torah and the Bible, the New Testament, Old Testament. It's interesting because the guy who the Vice guy was interviewing is an older guy who was in the special forces in the US military, and he seems to have skills. And he was saying that their rule book is the Torah, which is amazing because that's a book that Jewish scholars debate and talk about all the time. So it's interesting that that's their rule book. And then they follow the New Testament and the Old Testament. They're Christians. And they believe in the end times, and they believe that the Bible is literally true. I suppose that depends on one's interpretation of the meaning of the Bible, all the different parts of it. But anyway, for them, they know the absolute truth. They're doubtless about it. They have no doubt that they understand exactly what God's will is. And one of the things God wants them to do is prepare for the end times, get ready for when, Christ comes back from heaven, and there's the conflagration, the apocalypse, and all this kind of stuff. And they have to prepare for it, get ready for it. It's not like they're a cult or anything. They have their strong beliefs, and it must be kind of nice, and I mean this sincerely, to believe completely that you know the absolute truth, because then you have a guide, a focus, a foundation for your life that you can hold on to, and you don't have to worry about complicated interpretations of things. You don't have to worry about complexity or everything changing really fast, and you can stay in the Ozarks away from people, have your intentional community, and live your life the way you want to live it without doubt. That must feel pretty good. The people seemed really nice. I know I talked about this before, but I just keep thinking about it. They're surrounded by other intentional communities that believe the same thing, and they have their businesses. They make survival gear kits, first aid kits, and so on, and they sell them online. and they have other businesses and farms and so on. And all these different intentional communities kind of work together around the same theme. And he said a few things that were kind of intelligent and wise and interesting. He said that they're in the Ozarks because they don't want to be anywhere where the government wants their resources. That makes a lot of sense. You don't really want to live anywhere where the United States wants your stuff, because they'll probably start a war to get it, to get control over it. And things will not be nice. You know, think of Syria, Libya, think of Iraq, Afghanistan, and so on. Think of all of that stuff. Of course, if you're close to the United States, it's tough too, or if you're in the United States, because if you do anything that's odd or different, they might view it as a threat, you know? So if you're in the Ozarks, tucked away somewhere, you're kind of safe. Nobody's going to pay any attention to you. You can live your life the way you want to live it. They seemed like, you know, kind of nice people. That was kind of smart. And there's nothing wrong with being prepared, because things are changing quick and we have no idea what's next. And grids could go down, you know, disasters can happen and will happen. And if they're living in an intentional community that's more or less sustainable, and you know, they can take care of themselves and each other, they'll be more resilient. You know, they might last a few more months or a few more years than people in the city, you know. And they know exactly what's going to happen because they have certain beliefs in the Bible and so on. So they don't have to worry about anything. They know the truth and they can just get on with it. And it didn't seem like they were the proselytizing type. You know, they just live in their little closed communities and they're not that concerned with everybody else. So what's wrong with that? And then I was thinking, where I live, it's like that anyway. Even though most people here aren't that concerned with knowing the absolute truth. The people that I speak to anyway, they're not that concerned about knowing everything. So they're pretty comfortable with just living their lives and, you know, having some doubts, not knowing what's really going on, like most of us. But we live in intentional communities over here. Everybody's got 3 or 4 businesses and small farms and so on. And I can imagine if things got really, really bad, that people around here would kind of help each other out. So each one of these intentional communities in the Ozarks, he said, they have a number of families. So I can imagine it might be like 12 families or no more than 20 families, I guess, or less, probably. And, you know, villages around here are like that, you know. You have a number of families living on their small farms with their little villages, and then nearby there'll be a town, several towns, and then if you drive, you know, 80 kilometers in one direction or another, you'll run into a city. So it's laid out pretty good for this type of Ozark mountain survival thing. And the United States doesn't give a damn about Portugal. You know, there's no oil here. They're not communists, you know. There's nothing really to worry about in the Iberian Peninsula. So the United States just leaves us alone over here, which is nice. I wouldn't want to live anywhere where the US had interests. That would be too scary. That's the thing that worries me about Central America and South America. You know, it's too close to the United States. So they're going to start a war on drugs or a war on terror or a war on communism or a war on something. They're going to put sanctions on your country and crank up the negative propaganda about your leadership and all that stuff. And it's just going to be hell to pay, you know. You either feed the US multinational corporations or you're in big, huge trouble. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here and not there, you know. He said a few other things that was interesting. I can't really remember. But yeah, I'll put a link in the video description so you can watch that if you want. The thing is, don't be afraid of these people. They're just living a life that they want to live, right? They're not really bothering anybody else. So live and let live as far as I'm concerned. I don't care. If they know the truth, they know the truth, right? Anyway, seems like the kids are on lunch break, so I'll end it here. Please like and subscribe. Make a comment, okay, so that maybe somebody will watch this for what it's worth. Okay, take good care. Buliam T, out. It's the fountain I was talking about. There's no water in it now. And then that door back there, that's where the well is. There's a deep well back there. Jardin de Vida. Village garden, village park. That's where the well is. Olden days, they'd fetch water here. Bravo.